right, to get started with this portion of the lecture, we want to make sure that we are building our two sides of the actual archway based on the specific views that we're looking at here. So I'm going to take this opportunity to press the F key in both the front and in the side views, and this will frame the particular objects. In addition, because I actually don't have a middle mouse button, I'm going to take this opportunity to go to View, go down to Camera Tools, and I'm going to detach this menu by clicking on the stippled top at the top of that menu, which will allow me to easily select the track tool to pull things over, etc. Okay? So that being said, remember that your Q key is your selection key to get you out of any particular tool, including any of these tools that I have over here on my camera tools. All right, so what's unique about this particular chapter is that we're not going to start with an actual polycube. We're going to use a tool called the Create Polygon tool. Now, if you go to Mesh Tools and click on Create Polygon, and I'm going to space bar over the front orthographic view so I can see it really well. And actually, what I will do is go to View X-ray. This will kind of diminish a little bit of what's in the background for the moment, and then we can always obviously add a different shader to the object in which we are going to create. All right, so to get started, the purpose of the tool that we're about to use, or that I started to use, which was called the Create Polygon tool. So here you have it right here on the left-hand side. When I go to create this particular polygon, I'm going to click once, and you can see I did so in the lower right corner. And I'm actually going to click twice, go all the way to the top. That says 3. We're going to come out a little bit. That's 4. Come in a little bit. That's 5. Go all the way to the top, which is 6. So 6 clicks on the right hand side. So I'm going to try to mirror those clicks on the left hand side because I always want to make sure that we're creating quadratic faces. It makes it so much easier for us to split this and then obviously to use other tools that are based on quadratic faces. So again, 6 clicks on the right, so 1, go all the way down to the next dot that you can see right here. Here's 2, this one comes out as 3. Now you can click and drag, so you can see I'm clicking and dragging. Here's 4, here's 5, and then here is 6. And then when I'm all done, I'll press the Enter key. In doing so, that pink polygon will get turned off to the actual gray tone of the normal color. At this point, it's really difficult to see the differences between the polygon that I just created and the X-rayed graying out of the template behind me. So I'll take this opportunity to go into Windows, go down to your rendering editors and choose Hypershade. And once again, I'm going to create myself another Hypershade. Instead of changing the actual Lambert 1, let's just do something and call it a different Lambert. This will be my Arch Text. And we'll call it Arch Text. We're going to click on a new color for it. Let's give it a greenish color, or maybe even, well, green is probably fine. That's fine. And let's also decrease the transparency from fully visible to barely visible. And that should show up as a nice contrast between the X-rayed template and the object that we are creating. Now, before I close this off, I'm going to move it off to the side just so I have it. I'm going to select the tower that I just started to create, right-click and hold, and go down to Assign Existing Material, and here we'll choose Arch Text as in texture. You can kind of see the gray color right there. Now if that gray is not bold enough for you, we'll bring this back out. Make sure we click on the Arch Texture from our library or our materials area. You can always increase the actual opacity of it. You can see what that increase does for it. We can increase it however we need to. Okay, now green might not be the best of colors because it doesn't show you when you are in object mode. So let's see if there's another color that would work better. Oh, decisions. What do you say we try a cyan blue, which would allow us to see dark blue wireframes for component mode and green wireframes for object mode and little purple dots for vertex mode. So let's go with the cyan blue. And if you're happy with the transparency, awesome. If you want to kick it up a notch or two, that is up to you. Perfect. So when you're all done, we're going to close out of the hyper shade menu, and here we are. All right, so at this point, this is considered to be an anomaly of sorts because when I right click and hold and go into vertex mode, I have all these different little purple dots, but they're not connected to anything. So now we're going to use a tool that is called the multi-cut tool. Now the multi-cut tool allows us to connect some of these different vertices that we've created. You can see immediately it wants to snap two existing ones. So it's not a selection until I actually click on it. And then you can see I can click over to the right hand side and press the enter key. And then when I'm done, I'll come back over, select this one, and press the enter key, and we'll just keep repeating. Make sure you always press the enter key in between. So click, click, and enter. And that will make it so that way it's a quadratic object. Actually, it looks like I have additional vertices over here. So let's take this opportunity to fix this up. I did not intend for these to be separated when it was doing so. So let's swipe these two, and then we'll go to the Edit Mesh menu, and let's click on Merge to Center, and then I'll swipe these two and go to Edit Mesh, Merge to Center. Now those kind of combine those down. Oh, it looks like I did the same thing here. Boy, oh boy, I was a sloppy clicker today. Edit Mesh, Merge to Center. Here we are. Merge to Center. All right, so that being said, now we should be fully quadratic. All right, so it looks pretty good. So this kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like to start off with the use of the Create Polygon tool. Now at this point, I'm going to take the opportunity to move over to the other side. Okay, so you can see I'm kind of ignoring the side view, which is this panel on the right side, as well as the side orthographic view, because I'm just trying to start to create the shape, the overall shape of what's going to be our broken archway. All right, so then once again, utilizing the Create Polygon tool. Click on Create Polygon tool. This time I'm going to take a little different route. So I certainly could click, click, and work my way up. This time, which seems a little bizarre that I would do so, but I'm going to just basically go from the very bottom all the way to the top, to the left, and then all the way to the lower left corner. So this, again, is a fully quadratic face. I just did 4 clicks. It all works together. Once again, you're going to see that the hyper shade on this is unique to the one on the right because if you recall, when we created the one on the right, we had to right click and hold and go to assign existing material, and we were able to choose arch texture, arch text. So now they both have the same. So the problem with this method that I just used on the left hand side is it obviously does not show any of the different dips and pulling in. Or the intonations of it. That being said, the hard part is that when you're using the Create Polygon tool, and just bear with me a moment here, I won't keep this Create Polygon tool. Oftentimes people want to click, 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 click. I will stop saying click. Huh. All right, and then I'm able to do this, right? And so what happens is, yes, it is following the intonations of the actual shape itself, but the problem with it is that this is a very hard shape to then make fully quadratic. We've got twice or if not more vertices in the bottom than we have in the top, which makes it really difficult for us to make it quadratic. All right, so I'm going to select this face and delete it because I was just kind of showing you. This one on the left-hand side, though, it's way too non-detailed. So what we're going to use for this one is a tool called the Insert Edge Loop tool. So we're going to go to the Mesh Tools and use Insert Edge Loop. Insert Edge Loop works perpendicular to the edge in which you've selected. So if I want a horizontal line, I'm going to click on a vertical line. All right, so I'm going to click and hold and place a few of these horizontal lines going across where I feel that this shape needs to have different shapes. All right, so we're going to start with that and see where it lands. Okay, so once you're done, you'll see that you're going to want to go to your Q key. Now your Q key will terminate the use of this insert edge loop. Okay, And then we're going to right click and go into vertex mode. And because we are in an orthographic view, this makes it really easy for us to swipe and click and drag. It's not, there's no depth to the things that we've just created, just so you know. They are flat as flat can be, right? So there's no depth to them. So we can easily swipe through them. And then we can once again use the scale and move tool to better align the placement of these vertices. Okay, so we'll scale these guys in. We can move them over. And again, the toggle between the scale and the move is going to be the R is scale and W is move. All right. So while this may not be perfect for the sake of our example, let me go back to vertex mode. I'm going to kind of breeze through this for the sake of the lecture. You certainly would want to take a little bit more time to go through some of these details. At the bottom here, you'll see that I'm only using the move tool on just my left side, and then I can just use the move tool on the right side, etc. So like you don't always have to use the scale tool if you're not moving in symmetry. All right. We can select both of these, move these in a little bit. Again, perfection is to be achieved later on. We're trying to get the overall shape of this particular object, so we're going to stick with that theory at this point. All right, so now at this point we need to start building upwards and then across the top. All right, so a couple different things. Once again, we can start off with our create polygon tool, or in this case I'm going to right click and go to edge mode and select this top edge, and actually I'm going to use the extrude tool. Now the extrude tool can be obtained by selecting the icon right here. It also can be accessed from going to modeling toolkit and utilizing the extrude tool from there. Either way, when you do the extrude tool, you're going to want to make sure that you use the arrows that come with the extrude tool. Again, don't toggle to the W key and use those. This allows you to then toggle between the move, the scale, the rotate, etc., all at the same time with great ease, and it allows you to modify your pivot point in the process of. Okay, so I've extruded this upwards. Let's continue to do so. We'll extrude this. And the extrude, once again, allows you to create additional faces. It's not that it's just growing or shrinking or adjusting the placement of the faces or vertices. It basically is, it is in fact allowing you to create new additional faces or edges and vertices based on what you have selected. All right, so we're going to scale this in, move it over, scale, move, etc. All right, this is looking pretty good. The next thing we're going to want to do is select this left side edge and again use the extrude tool for it. Now it's going to go straight out, but we can always scale it down and adjust its placement. So there's one extrude, and then we can go with another scale and move, and I'm going to kind of go a marriage between too far and too close in this upper left corner right here. And then we can always go into vertex mode, not extrude but vertex mode, and then adjust the placement of these vertices. In doing so, this may look like a trapezoid of sorts, but it truly is a quadratic face, which is ultimately what matters the most. I'm going to take this opportunity to choose File and go to Save As. And we're going to choose this as V2. So I'll change the name of this. All right. So now the last thing that we have to do is basically merge together or build this bridgeway going across the top right here. So you've seen a couple different methods. On the right side over here, we could once again create ourselves a new polygon with the create polygon tool. We likewise could extrude going across. That would work as well. So that's what I'm going to actually go with, is go into edge mode and select this edge and choose extrude. And I'm going to pull it pretty much all the way across and down. And I'm going to rotate this to kind of flatten it out and make it right at the center of what I believe to be the center is of this archway. Scale it down, move it. And then once again, I'll do a secondary extrude pretty much all the way across. And on this one, I'm going to scale it and move it once again and get it pretty close. Don't go over top, don't overlap it. We will connect these in just a little bit once we have the appropriate edges in place to do so. All right, so now you can see that when I go into object mode, I've got my left side fully selected, I've got my right side fully selected. When I select both, you can see that this connection isn't going to work so well. So once again, we're going to utilize the Insert Edge Loop tool, which is under Mesh Tools. Click and hold on a vertical edge and then release. Click and hold on a vertical edge and release, and this will give you horizontal edges. Once you're done with creating these additional edge loops, make sure that you always press the Q key to get out of the tool when you're all done. All right, so we're back into object mode. Now you can see that I've got some vertices here to connect these two together. So that being said, make sure in object mode, click, shift, click, so both sides are selected. We're going to go to the Mesh Combine menu. And now when you click off and click on, both of these parts of this archway are actually being selected. That being said, they're not actually connected, right? So once again, we're going to right click and go into vertex mode. We'll select these two vertices, go to mesh, edit mesh, and go to merge the center, select these two vertices, go to edit mesh and choose merge the center. All right, so some amount of time will take place. I will take pause at this point and finalize the different shapes of my archway. And then after that, we will go through and extrude to give depth to this particular archway. Save your file early and often, and then I will catch up with you in just a little bit.